All right, live, and I've got multiple cameras here, and yeah, my name is Mike. This is the front cam on this MacBook Pro. Hopefully, everything kind of calms down now. This thing was going crazy before, but let's see here. Quit that. Well, you know what? I'm pretty sure I'm live now. So my first live on this channel, by the way. So I've got to make sure that it's actually live. I've got to refresh this page here. Refresh. Got to make sure it's actually on Studio or yep, Journey to Barista. Awesome. It's there. So I've got about like, I don't know, 10, 20 minutes to go ahead and talk. You know, setting up kind of throws you off. Like I was like hyped to go ahead and start streaming and stuff. But I might as well get straight into it. You know, my name is Mike, and I've been roasting my own coffee for basically about 2 years, I think, something like that, maybe even longer. Back in 2020, I got some green beans from Sweet Maria's because I discovered that there was this thing called green coffee that you could actually use to help you store your coffee. And because I found out that you can't just keep coffee indefinitely, right? You know, like roasted coffee. So I had to do something, and that's what I ended up doing. I got that, and after a while I was like, man, I wonder how good this coffee is. You know, I started to get into Illy. It started with going to McDonald's, getting a coffee there, needing that for the lawn service that I used to do, and then that was really good. I ended up getting Keurig, used that for 10 years, then finally ended up getting an hyper espresso machine from Illy, used that for like 4 or 5 years, and then finally got into making my own espresso, and I tried that for about maybe, I don't know, a month, and got rid of that because it was the Breville Impress. I was impressed with it. Sorry, dad jokes, pun intended, but it was so ridiculous. I'm sorry. You have to endure that. It was, let me see. It was good. The coffee from that was really good, but I thought that Illy coffee was the best, and it still is really good. Illy coffee is amazing, but it's super commercialized, and I didn't realize that. You know, Italy, you don't have to get coffee from Italy in order for it to be really good. And I used to think, nope, I'm not going to get any coffee except for from Italy. I don't want Guatemala, I don't want Brazilian, I don't want Ethiopian, and what's just it's so crazy. Like why would it? How would anybody ever say they don't want Ethiopian coffee? That's just absolutely nuts. Sorry, in the background, you'll hear there's a trash can or trash truck that just pulled up. Good timing, right? Good timing on that. And then I discovered, you know, the beauty of, you know, Sweet Maria's coffee. This is the espresso monkey right here, and you know, like you can get your, you know, green coffee from a lot of different places. Sweet Maria, I happen to trust them quite a bit because I haven't had something bad from them ever, and I didn't seal this correctly. I'm glad I checked on that. That's why it still has some air in there. But I've probably gone through about maybe 100 pounds of coffee, and this coffee right here, Espresso Workshop. This stuff is absolutely amazing. I believe it's a Typica. I'm not sure exactly. There's a bunch of different varieties in here, but Sweet Maria has put their own together. This is the Espresso Workshop Silvertone. See that? Silvertone. And yeah, absolutely amazing stuff. So you know, you can make your own coffee at home. So, you know, why wouldn't you, you know? And hey, how you doing? Whoever's here watching online. But I have about 10 or 20 minutes to go ahead and make a video. And I just wanted to get into like talking about coffee and, you know, why do it at home and the experiences I've had with it. And the reason why I do it is I roast coffee for my church, and I go through it all the time because there's a couple of people there that are very picky, and I realized that no matter what I did, I picked so many different coffees, so many different, and no matter what I did, it wouldn't be good enough. And like, it's just, there's nothing I could do. And I found out that making an Americano, if you scrape the crema, I found out through James Hoffman, if you scrape the crema off of the Americano before you serve it, and something weird, you go and you steam the water. Like, why wouldn't you? Like, it makes sense. Like, I just can't believe, like, why, you know, I never thought about that. You can control the temperature if you steam your own water. And then if you make the water basically the same temperature as the milk that you would steam, then you know that when you add that water to the milk, it's not going to make it all of a sudden, you know, turn all bitter and everything. Because, you know, that's the main thing you want to stay away from, is having that bitterness. You know, you want to capture the amazing taste that coffee can have, and you kill it basically when you add like 190 degree water or whatever to the Americano. So, you know, that's almost impossible. It's almost impossible to control. So it makes total sense, you know, why you would do that. But I tried so many different things. This is one of the first ones I ever did, was the Espresso Monkey blend by Sweet Maria's. If you try any of the coffees right now, you can go get a coffee right now. This right here. I know I can't buy anymore because I can't, you know, afford it right now. But it's $9.25 for 1 pound of this. But if you're going to get coffee, you know, get this Espresso Workshop. You don't need anything here that I have. You don't need anything here. Like any coffee that I have here is not like an absolute necessity. So it's somebody, you know, they were watching and now they left, and it just shows that I'm not like doing something to entertain. And I think that's the problem, is I'm trying, like, as soon as somebody shows up, I'm trying to entertain, and I gotta not do that. Yeah, just chill. But anyway, if you've been to my channel before, you know that, you know, what I use for my own roasting is this right here. It's not anything amazing. Like, this is not like something special. And look, it's even dirty right now, but it's a stovetop popper. What's nice is, yeah, you can see that because the steam escapes, and, you know, it'll eventually, you know, splatter out. And that's, I think, like after 2 uses, that's kind of what happens. So, but yeah, this is a stainless steel stovetop popper you can get from Sweet Maria's. I highly recommend this thing. I use this basically once a week, and it's held up pretty well. I could do a video on this showing you how to prepare this thing. It's not going to be all that easy. Preparing this isn't all that easy. But it's basically all it is it's on a handle. You know, this little thing in here spins around on this handle. And I'm gonna go ahead and show you really quick what I do as far as, you know, this is gonna be loud, but oh well. But this comes out of here like this. Like that, and like that. And then this flips up. And you'll see in there the remnants of what I had made before. you'll see that stuff falling around. Yeah, there you go. So that's all chaff. So if I reach in there, it's all chaff. Yeah, all the chaff from, roasting the coffee. Some of the beans kind of, drop in there and just stay in there. But what I end up doing is, so what I made was this attachment right here. So I just put a little bit of tape on it, and it's just connected to a shop vac. I sanitize a shop vac with bleach water, and you can see that this was a piece of a blower. So if you have like a blower that you're not using at home, you could take the tip off of it if it's short enough and tape it on there, or use something else. But I use this to suck all this out. Sorry if that's loud, but so there you go. Makes it super simple. You can take your rag, whatever you have in here, and this is basically ready to go. It's pretty much ready to go for another round. So anyway, I've got a few more minutes, 2:41, but yeah, so that's ready to go for another round of roasting coffee. And this goes right back on there, just like that. Hook that back up, and boom, done. It's ready to go. And for me, I choose to go with 18.72 ounces because I want my final weight to be 16 ounces. And so, which is a pound. So you can get basically a pound of coffee. And, the main reason I would do that is because that thing gets very hot. So I use a propane tank, a stove, and a propane tank here. So this gets hooked up to this right here, and the pot goes right on top there, and it's 8,000 BTUs, and I wait for the pot to get about 400 degrees, 390 to 400, and then it's basically good to go. You can add the beans in there and start stirring instantly, but the problem is this: if you go with 9.36 ounces, then you can easily scorch those beans, and they're most likely it's going to be harder to control the temperature of that pot with that little bit amount of beans, like that size, that quantity. You can do it. You can get lucky and end up making something really, really good. But the odds are that you're going to scorch the beans if you don't go slow, right? So the secret is to find that low temperature. So that means that your starting point is going to be a lot lower. So the starting point where of your coffee, the temperature is going to be more like 200 and like maybe 200. 250 maybe degrees Fahrenheit, and it should be able to take you to where you need to be. So you might want to start even lower. It just depends. Like you could do this in your oh, that's right. You can do this in your kitchen, but I'm in my garage because I highly recommend not being in the house. And you can get one of these. Thermometer. It's a red light. You can see it behind me. Hopefully you can see that. And it's obviously 86 degrees over there. 83. The garage door is going to be hotter. Let's see, probably that part's going to be even hotter, yeah? No? No. So 85. So this thing helps quite a bit. It doesn't tell you the exact internal temperature of the beans, but it helps quite a bit and throughout your roast. But it will definitely tell you what the surface of the pan or the pot is. And that's how I know, when to put these in or the beans in. So before I was not doing that. I would just go ahead and let the pot heat up and put the beans in after 30 seconds of warming up or whatever. And you could do that too. You can time it like that, but it's most likely not going to work out very well for you. So, what's crazy is if somebody comes on and watches, I'm uncomfortable and I feel like I have to perform. So I basically almost automatically try to chase them away, like subconsciously. It's kind of crazy. But anyway, so I don't know why it's so difficult to talk about everything when I was so into it before, and I think it's because I just got done setting everything up. But my favorite coffee is a bourbon, Typica, Caturra, basically Arabica. But what's interesting is Sweet Maria's makes a blend of Arabica and Robusta, and they call it liquid amber. And it's actually really, really good. The smell of it, it's got a lot of spice, and I don't know, it's a mixture, like a 50-50 mixture, and it's really, really good. I don't know if they even have it available right now. I could actually show it on here, but I'm not gonna do that right now. It'll be another thing that I'll have to mess with later on. But I seal my own beans. I put them in the freezer. ChatGPT said don't recommend that. I haven't talked to ChatGPT for a while, but I'm not going to recommend it. But I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that it works for me. So freezing your coffee after you roast it, it works. So if you want to have the best espresso you can possibly have that you've ever had, I say try to roast it yourself. Pick a espresso bean and then roast it yourself. And if you follow my videos that I've done in the past, you'll be able to have a good idea of how to do it. And you don't have to be afraid of the whole process. The process is fairly easy. I'd say it's fairly simple. But I would get yourself some bags like these, and it's got a little valve on it. And you can seal them off on the top. And then there's a Ziploc right there. And you can open them from the top. You got that? So these are awesome. You get them on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description for these. You can see where it says zipper and pull tab to open. Some of these on Amazon, from what I saw in the reviews, the tab will break. So not all of them are created equal. The other thing is this, right here. You're gonna need one of these to seal it. So if you get these bags and you wanna seal these bags off, you wanna squeeze at the top of it and get all the air out and everything. But this will seal it off. I set mine to a 5.5 right there, but I could probably go even a little bit further because I usually hold it for like maybe an extra second after the light turns green. So it'll be red and then it'll turn green. After you push this down, you push it down like this, it engages it, and then it'll turn green over here, and then you let it up, right? Super simple. Probably don't want to breathe in the fumes from that plastic melting. But yeah, I recommend these if you're going to be roasting your own coffee for sure. And I'll put a link to the propane bottles and the Gas One butane or propane dual fuel portable stove. That's a lot to say. And this thing, I believe, is 8,000 BTUs. It looks like this, the box does. Gas One, 8,000 BTU. if you don't get the 8,000 BTU, if you don't get this stove, it might not matter, but I think you're probably going to get different results because everything, like all the brands are all different and stuff. And I don't even know if this brand is available, but I will put a brand in the link in my description, in a link in my description for you guys. And I'll put links to my favorite coffee as well from Sweet Maria's as well in the description so you can find those. And what's cool about this colander, I always say, what's cool about this? So you're gonna need 2 bowls, most likely. I've always needed 2 bowls. I don't know if they have to be metal, but I think metal is good. I don't know, it just seems durable and a little bit easier to clean maybe. And they heat up against the plastic, which these will get hot because you're gonna put hot beans directly in these. Probably is a good idea to get metal. But this is what I use to weigh the beans before I even add them. So 18.72 ounces in this thing right here after I've zeroed this out. And then the beans, this goes on here. And then I dump the beans on here when they're done. And I take this colander and I go over here. And this happens to fit perfectly in the center of the colander, which is awesome. You can see that it just goes right in there. And why do you do this, Mike? It's a good question. So the beans need to cool down really, really fast. So you could transfer like this back and forth and be totally fine. So that would work. But the best thing I think is to get the heat out of these with a vacuum of some sort. And that's kind of what they use with the industrial size, like roasters and stuff. They have like a trough that it dumps them out into, and then that has something that stirs it, and then, which I use my hands in this one. But you might want to wear some gloves, nitrile gloves possibly, if you're going to be doing it with this. But you don't need it. You just, what I do is I have it on here and I just stir it like that. And you can kind of feel that like the suction will hold on to this right here. As soon as you put the hose or the connection on this, it'll hold to it. And it will keep it basically where you want it. Like it'll keep it basically right there. And the suction of the air going through the beans also pulls the beans to the bowl. So when you swirl around like this, they don't want to escape as easy, which is awesome. So though, I don't know, the whole thing kind of works. I just kind of got lucky. I just figured, well, let's try this. And there's just enough holes at the bottom there to make it to where it will let the air escape, but not go too fast to where it loses suction. So if that makes sense. But yeah, so when I store these away, I just go ahead and put this upside down, put it right here on the colander, and just put it right there. And so everything's ready to go all the time. Like super simple setup. And I'll try to find a colander like that one with the same dimensions. I don't know where I got that one, but I think I got it as a wedding gift, like way back in the day. And it's interesting how different I look on this camera from that camera. It's so weird. Also, this is an iPhone, by the way. It's an iPhone Air. So I wish I had some questions so that I can answer for somebody, but I'll keep on coming on here and I'll keep talking about it. You know, there's another topic I want to talk about. And I don't know everything about this, so please take this with a grain of salt. I'm learning about like what Arabica and Robusta really, really means. And it's like Robusta and Arabica are both coffee plants, but they're really not the same. Like the Robusta has 22 chromosomes and Arabica has 44. And back in the day, when there was a thing called rust leaf that came out, Robusta has something that resists that rust leaf because it has like an SR gene or an S something gene that resists that disease that rust leaf specifically, whatever it does to Arabica. We almost lost like all of our Arabica beans. And you're probably asking like, what is Arabica, Mike? I don't know exactly what Arabica is per se. I don't even know what a Robusta is. All I know is that there's Arabica, which grows in Ethiopia and over in Africa, and then Robusta also grows in Africa. And Arabica is more of the higher climate, and Robusta is the lower climate. It's drought tolerant. It's got a bigger taproot and all that stuff. An interesting thing is Robusta is super cool. Like it doesn't self-pollinate, so it needs other plants around it to introduce. There's a certain thing that happens in the flower of a Robusta when it's pollinating, and it notices when its own pollen is introduced to itself, and then it therefore rejects the transformation that wants to occur. In other words, when you pollinate a flower, and so. And I learned this all from Google, by the way. So my knowledge could be flawed, and I'm willing to learn. I want to learn so much, but also on this channel, I want to always say that I like me. I would want you to learn something, right? So learn something new, and help me, or maybe adjust your style or adjust my setup, or whatever it is. So learn something new, and let's make it even better, basically. So if I share with you, then hopefully I will be able to get a better understanding of what everything is too. And so, and what's interesting about Arabica is it can self-pollinate because it's got 42 chromosomes. I'm sorry, 44. And so what happens during that process is you get the split, right? And actually, Arabica is more of a freak of nature. It shouldn't even be able to do what it does, I guess. And it's the weird one. And actually, Robusta is actually kind of normal. And there was something that happened way back in the day. So there's something called rust leaf that attacks Arabica. And it almost killed all of our plants, Arabica plants. But there's an island called Timor. Island of Timor, and Timor-Leste, I think it is what it is, and the coffee is Timor-Leste, and the plant from Timor was growing there, and they noticed somebody was traveling or walking through the fields, and they noticed that there was an Arabica plant that wasn't dying due to, even though it was amongst all the ones that were. And it was on the border, I guess, of the Robusta, as what the story says. And I guess because they had two different types. They had Robusta growing next to the Arabica, and I believe they brought Robusta over because rust leaf was was killing all their plants. And somehow, even though Robusta has 22 chromosomes and Arabica has 44, they were able to cross-pollinate. And that shouldn't happen because Arabica is looking for a split, right? So Arabica splits and it's looking for a 22. Well, because when you split 44, you have 22, right? I think it's like the male 22 and the female 22 chromosomes. And when Robusta splits, it goes from 22 to 11. And they tried to, like, you might say, like, hey, Mike, why didn't they just, manually go ahead and blend the two species? Well, that would make 33 because you would go 22 from Arabica and 11 from Robusta, and it makes basically a sterile plant. It doesn't produce anything, from what I understand. And if you do that, obviously that's not good. And so that means that it shouldn't have happened. Like it shouldn't have been able, So something happened to where Robusta maybe because of the weather or whatever it was. But instead of the natural split that it did, there was a glitch in the Robusta next to the Arabica. There was some sort of glitch that happened, and somehow a 22 chromosome left. So data from the plant in 22 chromosomes, instead of doing the split, it stayed as a 22. It pollinated with the Arabica, introducing the 22 that the Arabica needed, right? So that means that they all of a sudden have an Arabica plant producing. No, they have now what happened is there's a, Arabica, no, a drought, no, a rust leaf Arabica plant that's now producing seeds because of that pollination. And I guess that I'm not for sure because I need to ask this, but it seems that the plant having taken on that chromosome, that cross pollination, developed that resistance. But the thing is what I'm wondering is why is it that happened? Why didn't it? So because what would technically need to happen is the seeds would need to grow and grow into a Arabica, right? And grow into a Robusta, producing Arabica beans. Because that's what I heard that this was. I heard that the Timor-Leste coffee is an Arabica or a Robusta plant producing Arabica beans. So a lot of people say that's not very good. I've actually had it. I've had it from Sweet Maria's. If you go and check out Sweet Maria's, every once in a while, you'll see some stuff on there that is like super rare. And so I haven't seen Timor-Leste on there for a while, but I tried about, I think, 5 pounds, and I made it. And there's a small window of the Maillard reaction, which is like when the sugars start to break down and the caramelization happens. And it's like at the very end of the roast, like when you're about to have to pull it. It's at like 30 seconds to maybe a minute at max that you have of a window to be able to pull the roast. Like depending on how much you want it to be done, that is the window right there. And I guess the window for Timor-Leste is very, very small. So it's something to consider. But I have to get going, otherwise I'm going to be late picking up my kids. So anyway, there's more to talk about, and talk about I want to talk about more about like the Robusta and all of that, and Arabica and where it comes from and where it started from, which is Ethiopia, and then it went to Yemen. So a lot of people think that Yemen is the main place. Differences in Sumatra. I want to learn all of this. The Typica, bourbon, Caturra, and how they mix Caturra with Timor, and they make Catamor, and you'll see that every once in a while as a variety inside your coffee, and you kind of wonder what the heck is that? And that's Timor-Leste's blend. Actually, Castillo, which is what the Colombia made. So Colombia came up with Castillo. The government actually did. You know what's crazy is we had the it's a Mondovo, something like that, Mondovo coffee, I believe, and which is like it's red bourbon and a Sumatra. And Mondovo, I learned about it because I was listening to Atlas Coffee book 3 from a guy that I watch on YouTube. What's his name? James Hoffman. He won the Barista Challenge back in the early 2000s for, I guess, whatever that Barista Challenge was. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, I learned about, Mondovo from listening to that book. And then I went and researched it, and the rest is history. Like, I want to learn everything I possibly can about that. And it sounds very interesting. It sounds like exactly like what I would want in a cup. But yeah, I've got to get going. So I'm gonna start the car right now, actually. Get that going. So my name is Mike. This is Journey to Barista. Yeah, so please forgive the channel name. But what would you need to know? Go, and if you are interested at all, go find a pan, a cast iron pan. Grab go order maybe 2 pounds of coffee, because you're gonna need. Now, a pound of coffee will go in a 12-inch skillet. If you have a 10-inch, you're gonna use less than a pound, and get like a wooden spoon. Stir that up outside or wherever. And there's all kinds of different ways that you can roast coffee, but I found that was a really good way to do it. When I did it outside before I actually started doing it on the popcorn popper here. This isn't the only way, but it's actually a really consistent way for me. I actually can do really, really good work on it. I highly recommend it. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to do more lives like these. I'm going to go on and just talk about coffee, talk about what I learned, continue to come on here and just, talk about, as much as I possibly can. I'll take notes next time to, continue to talk and not get distracted by the whole setup and everything. So, let's see here. If you're struggling with your lattes, do about an ounce less milk than what you've been doing, and don't make it as hot. Try not to add as much air and to that, and so that way it's just a little bit more easier going. Like, not so much of a, don't introduce so much heat into your espresso. If somebody tells you that you need to not let your espresso sit off to the side while you're doing everything else, it's not a big deal. If the espresso cools down, yeah, you don't want it to get completely cold, and they say it adds bitter flavor as it cools off, maybe, but I've noticed that as coffee cools, it actually tastes a little bit better. The flavors start to come out and all that. So it's totally fine. Like, you drink iced coffee or iced espressos or lattes for a reason, because it tastes good. They say not to add, coffee or water to make an Americano. I add the water. I steam the water, and then I add the water to the cup that has the espresso shot in it, and it works out great. So basically, whatever people say to do, I basically always do the opposite for some reason. It just ends up working better for workflow when I'm making coffees over at the church. And what else? You might want to get a 24 ounce or a 20 ounce pitcher for your milk if you're making for you and your wife. You could even do a 32. I do a 32 ounce at my house. I fill it up to 14 ounces, and I split that cup to make 2 perfect lattes for my wife and I. You can use the pitcher to split the milk. If you don't have 2 pitchers, get 2 pitchers. And you're gonna want, if you're only going to be steaming 8 ounces or 7 ounces of milk, you need to make sure you have a 12 ounce pitcher. So I think it's good to have a 12 ounce and a 20, or a 12 ounce and a 32. I haven't seen any 24s. I think there's somewhere around, but you don't absolutely need them. And what else? What else about coffee? Don't be afraid to try Robusta. I had Robusta espresso, and it was really good. It's like I was saying before. If you go to Sweet Maria's, they every once in a while one of their blends they'll have. It's called Liquid Amber, and it's I believe it's half Robusta, half Arabica, and it's absolutely amazing. And let's see here. You can freeze your coffee bags. Freeze the coffee. Don't grind it up. Leave it whole bean, frozen in the freezer. It'll stay for months. I've had coffee stay for like 4 months. I don't know. It could probably even go longer than that. As long as your freezer, I mean, even if your freezer it thaws everything out, the coffee stays in there, it's gonna be fine. it might lose a little bit of its flavor a little bit over time, but it's still going to be amazing. Like it's going to give you the crema and everything. I don't know why. It just works. For me, it works. Um, let's see here. Don't be afraid to over tamp your coffee. It's fine. Um, don't worry about under tamping. You know, you're gonna make your coffee the way you're gonna make it, right? So eventually you're gonna find the extraction that you need. My extraction is a 2-to-1. So if I have 20 grams in, I want 40 grams out in about 25 seconds. Let me say that again. It's 20 grams of coffee to 40 grams on the scale, because I weigh my coffee as it's coming out. As soon as it gets to 40 grams of liquid, then I'm done, right? It's a 2-to-1. And I add honey to my coffee. If you want honey, I'm gonna I'll link a description, or I'll put a link in the description for you for the honey that I would use. Costco has really good honey. You can use their natural or raw whatever honey. It's really, really good. It's amazing. But if not, you want to go to Amazon and buy the one that I'll recommend to you on Amazon. Okay, I'll put that in the description as well. Hopefully I'll remember all this. I'll have to go through the video and watch it again. And let's see here. There's also something probably very important that I'm forgetting, and I don't want to forget. I can always say this later, but there's so much to know. There's so many different things. Like, don't be afraid to try something new, do something different, and make something that you really like. And be willing to experiment, and don't worry about like what you're supposed to do. You think about it this way: people that taste coffee for a living, they will put grounds of coffee in a cup and let the cup steep for a while. And as the water cools off, the water or the coffee starts to taste better. They scrape off the they'll stir it right before. They'll stir it in the cup when they pour that hot water in there, whatever. They'll let it steep, and then they'll just scrape the coffee grounds out, and then just spoon the coffee. And just that's like the super basic, most basic way to enjoy coffee, but yet you can do it, right? So like, imagine we're doing all these other extra steps. It's making it more complicated, possibly, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. You can make it not complicated or make it complicated. Like, it's up to you. Like, what kind of process? Like, it's fun. It's a hobby. Like, what kind of process are you willing to do? Like, how nerdy do you want to get about it? Like, you can go so far into this and understand like so much about coffee, and understand like the elevation that you're buying from, and the type of coffee you're buying, when it was propagated or harvested, and by who it was harvested. And Sweet Maria's goes and does all this stuff for you, because they do a tasting every once in a while, and they'll taste stuff sometimes that tastes like vomit. And thank goodness they have tasted that and decided not to sell it, right? Like, I don't want to have to experience that, but it would make it to where I wouldn't like coffee anymore, maybe. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to do that. So thanks to Sweet Maria's for doing that, taking one for the team. But let's see here. Yeah, coffee's awesome. It's a fun experience. I love talking about it. The thing that really gets me is the fact that there's so much more to it than what's on the surface, behind the scenes. Mondovo is what I think is that what it's called? Goodness, I don't know. Let me see. I'm gonna check real quick. Yeah. Dude, I'm gonna be so late picking up my kids. Oh well. Um, is the coffee I was talking about before called Mondovo? I'm gonna check right now. It's Mundo Novo. Duh. Okay. It says it's a very well-known coffee cultivar, a natural hybrid of Sumatra and red bourbon that originated in Brazil back in 1940s because it's a staple of Brazilian coffee production. Sweet Maria's frequently carries lots that feature it, especially when you're looking at those low acidity, heavy bodied coffees that develop those gorgeous, sweet, dark chocolate and nutty notes when you take them to Full City or Full City Plus. We'll talk more about that later on. But does Mondovo ring a bell for a specific flavor profile or origin you had in mind for that perfect 16-ounce target? It does. It sounds amazing. I don't know if I've ever had it before, so let me ask one more thing for you guys really quick. So, see here. Let's see. If I was to search for a coffee, it's at Sweet Maria's that likely has Mondovo in it, which one would I search for? Like what origin or what part of the country would it be from, or what area or farm?
To find a coffee with Mundo Novo in it at Sweet Maria's, your best bet by far is to filter for South America and specifically look at Brazil because Mundo Novo is a natural
It'd
hybrid of
be
Sumatra and red bourbon
Minas Gerais, like Solda Minas, or Cerrado, or Cormo de Minas, and the state of Sao Paulo, like Morgiana. Farms in these areas are likely heavily planted with Mundo Novo alongside other common Brazilian varieties like Bourbon, Catai, and newer hybrids like Ara, Arara or Oboto, no, Obata. So those might be something they look for. You know, if it's from a farm, like one of those from those areas, that would probably be one to look for sure. What's nice is it's got low acidity, it's thick, creamy body, deep, rustic, bittersweet chocolate, cocoa powder, toffee, nutty notes. What's nice about it is if you take it to Full City, which is like a medium to dark, or Full City Plus, it's going to be really good with what do you call it? It's going to be good with milk, so it'll be a good latte. But the most excellent coffee I've ever had in my life is the one that I showed you before, Silvertone. I don't want you to buy it all, but it's worth it. It's expensive. It's $9.25 a pound, but it's Silvertone. It's the Espresso Workshop number 51, Silvertone. So, all right, guys, that makes amazing, excellent espresso and amazing lattes. So you can't go wrong with it. So I'm sure everything else that you make with it will be amazing too. So all right, my name is Mike. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Talk to you later. Bye.